The big parking problem on campus just got worse. We'll tell you why. And drivers might be in for a surprise as prices at the pump are starting to drop. Plus, it's the first day of the Great State Fair of Oklahoma. We'll take you there live. This is OU Nightly. Thanks for watching OU Nightly. I'm Bella Roddy.
And I'm Carolyn Felling. We begin tonight with a big parking problem on campus. OU students have always had trouble finding a parking space, but tonight we know there's a reason why. Students and now even some faculty and staff just can't seem to find a place to park. OU Nightly's Addie Crawford is live on campus to explain. Addie?
Carolyn, the problem is worse this year. That's because university parking oversold the number of commuter parking permits. Simply put, there are more permits people paid for than there are spaces to park. Even though the semester has just begun, frustrations surrounding OU parking
I'm not a fan of OU parking at all.
Are everywhere among students.
Absolutely.
According to an open request, OU sold over 7,000 commuter parking permits this year, but the Norman campus currently only has close to 3,000 commuter parking spaces, meaning that's almost a 5,000 space gap between permits sold and spaces available on campus. And students have felt the parking pain.
Left probably 45 minutes before I was supposed to, and I was stuck circling the parking lot waiting for someone to finally pull out.
Brianna isn't the only one who waits for other students on their way out.
Like this mutual thing that we do, I look at their eyes and they're like, yeah, okay, I know you're looking for parking.
Some with no choice but to take an absence.
Sometimes you'd end up missing classes and have to email your professor and say, hey, I couldn't park.
Even finding new methods of getting to campus.
This whole school year, I've parked in the parking garage maybe once, and I was 20 minutes late to class. I've just been walking, even though I bought a pass.
And with the almost $300 price tag,
your money that's supposed to be going to parking is, it's basically just being stolen from you.
It feels like a waste of money. If I'm not even going to be able to find a spot, then what's the point?
All of it causing students to feel
Really, it's disappointing.
It's just frustrating.
It's ridiculous.
Discouraging.
I reached out to OU Parking Services and Transportation around 1 o'clock this afternoon, but haven't received a response. But what I can tell you is that there's no additional plans for new campus parking. Reporting live, Addie Crawford, OU Nightly.
Thanks, Addie. At least there's no problems parking today at the State Fairgrounds on the first day of the fair.
That's right. For the next 10 days, Oklahomans will experience all the sights and sounds of the State Fair. The question is, will we see that traditional Oklahoma State Fair weather? OU Nightly meteorologist Coy Taylor is live at the Oklahoma State Fair. Coy, how's it going?
Yes, that's right. We're live at the State Fairgrounds here in West Oklahoma City. Night one and day one of the Oklahoma State Fair underway today, and activities got started at 10 a.m. this morning, and they start at 10 a.m. every day through the fair run as we go towards September 25th. So 10 days of the fair. If you can't make it out tonight, there'll be plenty of time to make it out. Let's get a quick check at that weather. Right now, we have temperatures in the 90s, and here on our thermometer, about 100 degrees. So that sun's beaten down as it absorbed through this asphalt, all the concrete that we have around here. It's just creating a little bit of an oven if you're coming out to the State Fair. So be sure to hydrate, as well as bring that SPF and layer up that sunscreen. But out the door right now, temperatures across the area, 86 officially at Will Rogers. We're in the 90s, especially in the west. We do have some storms going up in the Panhandle. We'll get to that here in a second, but I hope you're breathing easy. The allergies are starting to improve. We still have some grass and mold out there in the high level categories, but, weed, I should say, and mold. Grasses and tree pollen have come down just a little bit. But if you are coming out to night one of the fair, we're going to see 80s continue here over the next couple of hours, and then we'll be in the 70s after that sun sets. I can't wait for that. I might go grab some ice cold lemonade here, but I'm going to send it back to you guys in the air conditioned studio.
Thanks, Coy. A petition to make recreational marijuana legal in Oklahoma could put the issue on ballots in time for the November election. Right now, there's about 30 minutes left for a formal protest concerning the signatures to be filed. OU Nightly's Purpura tells us how that could change the criminal justice across the state.
Starting today at 5 o'clock, the Oklahoma Supreme Court will be able to make a decision on whether State Question 820 will appear on the ballot this fall.
If 820 becomes law, it would legalize the drug for adult use, as well as remove drug charges from some people's records.
You know, we know that there are people sitting in jail right now with minor marijuana crimes that this bill would immediately impact.
Democrats hope that fully legalizing marijuana will reduce the number of people in prisons. According to data from 2019, Oklahoma has the second highest rate of incarceration in the nation, and data from this year is on track to put Oklahoma in first.
We know that Oklahoma disproportionately incarcerates people of color, no matter what it's for. We have the highest incarceration rates in the whole nation. We have more people in prison here than anywhere else in the country.
The only legal way to possess marijuana in Oklahoma is with a medical card. To get one, patients need a recommendation form signed by a doctor and have to pay a $100 registration fee with the state. In total, patients can spend hundreds to get their card. Law says that cost puts marginalized communities at greater risk of arrest.
They have some level of privilege that that person from that marginalized community doesn't, and they can't spend $200-300 on this every 2 years. And so this person is going to get criminalized versus this person who's not.
So far, 2 challenges have been filed against State Question 820. Before the court can make a decision, they will have to address both of those challenges. In Norman, I'm Purpura, OU Nightly.
If there are no protests on the signatures, it is possible that this issue could be put to a vote to the people in November. We will not know for sure until the State Election Board publishes its sample ballots.
Coming up on OU Nightly, doctors are still trying to encourage people to get boosted with a new campaign. And an expert is going to weigh in on why your sleeping schedule may be struggling. Coming up on OU Nightly. And we're going to go right back over to News Center with Mecca Thompson.
The Biden administration secured a deal this afternoon after talks of a railway labor strike that could disrupt the U.S. economy. President Joe Biden declared this a big win for the U.S.
Benefits. And this is a great deal for both sides, in my view.
The deal represented tens of thousands of workers and took about 20 hours to discuss. Rail workers now have benefits, and this gives Biden a victory ahead of November's midterm elections. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis sent 2 flights with an estimated 50 migrants to Martha's Vineyard in Massachusetts yesterday. In a statement released by the governor's office, he accused blue states like Massachusetts of inviting undocumented immigrants to the U.S., supporting President Biden.
Sanctuary state, and it's better to be able to go to a sanctuary jurisdiction.
The migrants claimed they were told they would be provided jobs and housing once arrived. And today, federal authorities arrested Roger Golubski, former homicide detective from the Kansas City Police Department, who allegedly exploited and terrorized black residents. The indictment alleges that Golubski also assaulted 2 black women acting under color of law, meaning he used his position as an officer to commit the crimes. The incidents occurred 20 years ago, and Golubski retired in 2010.
Thanks, Mecca. Coming up, we're gonna talk to Live in Health Beat. Doctors are still trying to encourage people to get boosted with a new campaign. And an expert is gonna weigh in on why your sleep schedule may be struggling. Next on OU Nightly.
Welcome back to OU Nightly live from the Oklahoma State Fair. It's a hot one out here. We'll get to that weather situation, but we do have grand opening ceremonies of the State Fair going on at 5 p.m. So just here in a little bit, it's going to be a hot one as we go. And then we have some live entertainment. Country music star Tracy Lawrence going to be here live. But let's get you out the door this evening. Live look over the South Oval as we go. You can see sunny skies down there in Norman. Where it's not sunny, that's going to be up in the Panhandle. We'll get to that here in a second. But current temperatures across the state, we're in the 80s and 90s. It's feeling like it's in the 90s, that's for sure, everywhere. We're in the 90s in western Oklahoma, and let's get you out to Oklahoma and the Panhandle. Here's a statewide view of radar. You can see where that activity is up in the Oklahoma Panhandle and the Texas Panhandle. We kind of have a storm system moving through there as we kind of zoom it on in. We do have a severe thunderstorm warning in effect for the North Texas Panhandle there. That runs until 5:30. $50 size hail, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts on that. That could drift into northwest Oklahoma up towards the Woodward area as we go here over the next 30 minutes to an hour, as we're expecting these storms to kind of at least stay throughout the duration of sunset. Here's the SPC outlook. You can see that area highlighted up there in the panhandles of Oklahoma and Texas and into southwest Kansas. That's where we're under that level 1 marginal risk, 60-mile-per-hour wind gusts, as well as quarter size, maybe even upwards of $50 size hail possible with a few of those storms that get a little bit rowdy. But here's your state fair day planner for tomorrow. We're expecting temperatures in the what would be 70s to start when gates open at 10 a.m. Then we're to around 89 by 2 p.m. And then we're going to see temperatures back in the 90s as we start tomorrow evening and transition into night 2 of the fair. So here's future radar showing those storms in western Oklahoma. We are monitoring them here over the next couple of hours. They're going to move into north central Oklahoma as we go into the overnight hours. So up towards the Enid area, maybe even over towards Ponca City, you might be getting on a brief sprinkle or a light shower as we're waking up tomorrow morning. And then also tomorrow afternoon, we do have the possibility here on future radar, what would be of the possibility of some more evening storms, afternoon storms there in the Panhandle. So here's going to be our lows tonight statewide. We're going to drop down into the 60s across the state, and then we're going to see temperatures fall into what would be the 60s overnight, and then we're going to be 90s tomorrow as you come out to the Oklahoma State Fair or have any Friday night football games going on. And then for your Saturday, if you're coming out to the State Fair, we're expecting temperatures back in the 90s. So it's going to be hot any way you shake it for 10 days of the fair. And we'll leave you with your 7-day forecast. The 90s return, and we could be near the century mark as we head into next week, but it's going to be feeling a little bit more like fall as we head into next Thursday, the official start of fall, the autumnal equinox on Thursday. So that's the latest from right here at the Oklahoma State Fair. I'm Coy Taylor. Let's send it back to Bella and Carolyn in the studio.
Thanks, Coy. Hopefully you filled up your tank before heading to the fair, because Oklahomans are starting to see a drop in prices. But what impact will that have on inflation? We spoke with an OU professor of the Petroleum and Geological Engineering to learn more.
Inflation affects everything, but when you look at the impact on the oil price, it is, I would say, that's minimal.
This is great news for Oklahoman pockets, as the average price of gas in the state is $3.28, a year after prices hit record highs of nearly $5 on average in the state. Professor Ahmed also says that renewable resources will help ease the cost of some of these gas prices.
And a person in Norman is involved in obtaining thousands of dollars fraudulently at a local bank. Anyone with information on the identity of this individual is asked to report it by calling Norman Crime Stoppers or Norman Investigation Center. And advertisements to promote COVID boosters were released today, and walking to class may have its perks.
Liv Walbeck has the details in Health Beat.
That's right, ladies. The U.S. Department of Health and Human Services launched its advertising campaign to encourage people getting boosted. The ad is targeted towards adults ages 50 and up, as they account for 86% of COVID hospitalizations and 96% of in-hospital deaths. Ads will appear on TV, radio, and online.
It promotes how the vaccines fight against current variants and are shown to reduce life-threatening symptoms. About 70 million Americans suffer from sleep problems. According to the Center of Disease Control and Prevention, Dr. Anissa Das explains that sleeping in on the weekend isn't always the best choice.
Don't sleep in for 3 hours on the weekend, because then we're giving ourselves what we call social jet lag. It's no different from flying from New York to California for the weekend and then giving ourselves jet lag when we come back. So trying to be really consistent to keep that circadian clock in line.
Waking up at the same time every day, you're likely to have a stronger sleep cycle. And if you can't find a parking spot, no stress, because walking to class may have its health benefits. New research from a national household travel survey states that 75% of children who walk to school continue that trend for 2 to 4 years. While only 11% of kids total walk or bike to school, they are more likely to have healthier lifestyles. Active commutes promote healthier habits by getting these kids up and at 'em first thing in the morning. Well, ladies, looks like struggling to find a parking spot and choosing to walk to class may have its perks.
And Sooner Nation has their first away game this weekend against the Nebraska Cornhuskers.
Addison Arthur is going to break it all down and tell us what we can expect coming up in sports.
That's right, guys. The Sooners have a big game this week as they travel to Nebraska to face the Cornhuskers. And one of the greatest tennis players of all time is leaving the court. This and more in sports. I'm Addison Arthur, and it's time for sports. One of the most historic rivalries will be back on the big screen this weekend as OU travels to Lincoln, Nebraska. Freshman tight end Carolynn is the first player from Nebraska to wear the crimson and cream since 1973.
It feels amazing, I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of saying earlier, but it really feels like a home game for me. And obviously there's gonna be a bunch of family and stuff there, but you know, at the end of the day, really just focusing on our game plan. The number one goal is to win the game, obviously. So it's definitely a big moment for me, but winning the game is going to be an even bigger moment.
The historic 2000 game between OU and Nebraska is one to remember for many different reasons. Aside from the major comeback to give OU the win, the game is most known for the last time Sooner fans rushed their home field. Brent Venables was the defensive coordinator under Bob Stoops at the time, and when reminiscing about the game, the emotions were high.
They tore down them goalposts out there. So they tore down the goalpost in Norman, Oklahoma, which we know they don't do. And I remember I'm ashamed now because I wasn't celebrating.
The University of Oklahoma will dedicate a statue honoring 3 of its greatest defensive football players, the Selman brothers. The ceremony will be held at 3:30 on Saturday, the 24th, before the Kansas State game. Today, Michael Jordan's Last Dance jersey sold for a record $10.1 million. Carolyn, Bella, I don't know about you, but I wish I was able to buy such an iconic piece of sports history.
Thanks, Addison. The Oklahoma City Zoo has 2 new members you won't want to miss.
Find out how you could see these furry friends for free coming up.
I'm Morgan Martin at the OU Nightly Update Desk. A Florida Chick-fil-A worker is being hailed a hero today. Michael Gordon tackled a man allegedly attempting to carjack a woman with a baby. Video of the incident showed the employee springing into action after he heard screams from the parking lot. The suspect is now facing charges of battery and carjacking with a weapon. Bella, Carolyn, back to you in the studio.
Thanks, Morgan. The Oklahoma City Zoo has welcomed 2 Sumatran tiger cubs, and they cannot be any cuter. The zoo posted this to their Twitter today.
Siblings Bob and Luna are a part of an endangered species, making their arrival that much more special.
And with the purchase of a copy of the Curbside Chronicle, the zoo is offering free admission so you can see these cubs in action.
We leave you tonight with a last look at the State Fair.
Yes, over the next couple of days here at the State Fair, we're expecting temperatures in the 90s. And that's going to continue into next week as we see temperatures peak to near 100 degrees at the start of next work week. Bella, Carolyn, back to you in the studio.
Thank you so much for watching tonight.
I hope you all will have a good night.